You are a guardian angel and designer. What the f is you talking about, man? You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro? You are not from Harlem. I did not grow up with you, man. Do you remember how we met? Pause. Not met, how you got cool with us? Basically, you heard our freestyles. And you came up to me one day when I was chilling in front of the house. You said, yo, man, I heard the freestyles. Y'all killing shit. More freestyles come out. Y'all heard the new shit you did. Children of the Corn, 12-minute freestyle. Mace, Cameron, Cardan, DJ Clue. Google Bloodshed and Cameron, Children of the Corn, freestyle. Are you at any of these places? No, you was not there, man. You wasn't there.
The moment turned ugly fast when Mace and Cameron flipped the spotlight on Jim Jones and pressed him hard on the stories he's been telling, because once credibility gets questioned in public, there's nowhere to hide. This wasn't playful banter or a friendly roast. It felt like a coordinated check. The jokes landed, the laughs were sharp, and every punchline carried a point. When veterans speak with that kind of confidence, the room goes quiet, because confidence like that comes from memory, not imagination. Harlem history doesn't need hype, it needs accuracy. And the accusation hanging in the air was simple. Some things didn't line up.
Mace needed to go on a diet. He needed to get his life together. He needed to go to the doctor and get a physical. He looked terrible, bad body, back ass. He looked big around the neck. Waist looked crazy. I'm body shaming this. You heard? He needed to go get his shit together, get on the treadmill, do some push-ups, do something. You heard? Especially for playing with me.
I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down.
What made the exchange sting was the precision. Mace and Cam didn't ramble. They picked moments, paused the narrative, and corrected details with timing that felt rehearsed by experience. In the culture, embarrassment doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being exposed. And the exposure here wasn't about one claim. It was about a pattern of statements that sounded bigger on camera than they did to people who lived the era. The streets respect ambition, but they reject revision. Revision looks clean until people who were there start naming places, faces, and sequences. Sequence matters. Who came when, who stood where, who moved how. Once sequence gets challenged, the story shakes. The reactions online told the story. People stopped cheering and started checking. Old clips resurfaced. Timelines got compared. Not to pile on, but to understand. Understanding is dangerous when it contradicts the myth. The laughter from Mace and Cam wasn't cruel, it was corrective. Corrective laughter hurts because it says, we know the difference. And when that difference is pointed out by peers, humiliation doesn't need insults. It arrives on its own.
You was a fan. You begged us, you are a fan. A fan. So you gonna sit around and act like you've been around all this Harlem and everything. You ever see somebody from Harlem try to act like they from Harlem so bad that you gotta keep saying, I'm from Harlem? From Harlem know who's from Harlem. You don't have to keep saying you from Harlem. Yeah.
Jim's name trended for the wrong reason, because the pressure wasn't emotional, it was factual. When facts enter the chat, emotion loses leverage. The jokes felt effortless because they were grounded. Grounded humor cuts deeper than anger. Anger can be dismissed. Grounded humor sticks. It becomes a reference. And references travel. The culture doesn't forget references. By the end of the first wave, the mood had shifted from who's winning to what's real. That's the worst place to be when your story is under review. Once reality becomes the standard, performance falls short. And that's how humiliation sets in. Not with yelling, but with a room full of people realizing the emperor's suit doesn't fit the way he said it did.
Yeah, listen, man. Listen. You were fanned out and you begged to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in. Mace actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
Mace taught me how to rap.
You say it. We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomat. Yeah, you ain't make none of this stuff. You was a fan. That's how you got down originally. Period. I heard the new you did. Yo, you want to come through? Come through. Why? Why are we going to Jomo's house? So yeah, I would bring some bitches over there to fuck sometime. A little crack maybe.
As the clips spread, the humiliation deepened because the critique wasn't just loud, it was consistent. Mason Cam kept circling the same core issue, ownership of narrative. They weren't saying achievements didn't happen, they were saying the framing felt inflated. Inflated stories collapse under cross-examination. Cross-examination doesn't need hostility, it needs specifics. And specifics came fast. Names, corners, eras, movements, each detail tightened the net. Once a net tightens, every move makes it worse. Fans noticed how the tone stayed controlled. That control mattered. Control signals certainty. Certainty tells viewers there's nothing to prove. When you don't have to prove, you can correct. Correction changes the power dynamic. Suddenly the person speaking isn't defending, they're instructing. Instruction in public flips status. That flip is humiliation's quiet cousin. It doesn't shout, it teaches, and being taught your own history on a public stage is brutal.
This shit ain't no game. They can't play with me too much. I give them the floor to do that because that serves me no purpose. I got too much to worry about, too much to do. They know what I've done. And dance around it all they want and shit like that, joking, but they know if I get upset, it's gonna be a real problem.
Get out of here.
The culture also recognized the timing. These call-outs didn't arrive randomly. They arrived after repeated interviews and bold claims. Repetition invites review, review invites response, response invites reckoning. This wasn't a one-off clapback, it was a checkpoint. Checkpoints are uncomfortable because they force a pause. Pauses invite scrutiny. Scrutiny asks for receipts. Receipts are heavy. What made it worse was how the jokes kept landing with the crowd. Laughter is social proof. When laughter aligns with critique, it multiplies the impact. You can argue with a person, you can't argue with a room. The room felt unified, not because of hate, but because of recognition. Recognition is the killer. When people recognize inconsistency, they don't need persuasion. They nod. Nods travel faster than arguments.
Every nigga that put hands on you or you get to altercation, you cool with him. You tried to chase French Montana out the game, that ain't work out. Y'all got cool. So cool that you go to his video shoot, pardon me, not his video shoot, his movie. You're sitting in the crowd watching the premiere and they dissing you in the movie. You in the movie getting dissing, you gotta eat it, just sitting in the crowd. Nah, they dissing you in the movie that you went to go see, bro. Every nigga that do something to put pressure on you, you sit there and work it out. But when they got a little genuine heart for you and all that, cool, that's the pattern. If they don't put hands on you, then you can keep going on and on and on. But the niggas who do this, you cool with, and then the niggas who try to handle it sophisticatedly, you keep going on and on like niggas give a fuck about all that shit, bro. Niggas don't care about none of that shit, man. Niggas don't care a little bit, man. What I'll finish with is this, man. I'm never here to downplay your character. As much as you try to degrade my character for years and push me under the bus and say, I ain't start this and I ain't do that, and you started Pink and you made the Diplomats, which is just... Do you ever hear me talk about when you ran on me when BMF pulled up? When you ran in the hotel, they chased you to the beach. They chased you to the beach, you was in the sand. You was getting wet from the water, from the ocean. I don't pump that. I don't pump all that shit because I ain't trying to make the great your character. You know why? Because the revolution was televised. That's why I'm here. That's why God worked like that. That's why me and Murder is here. The revolution was televised. Because you talking about...
Jim's attempts to maintain composure only highlighted the gap. Composure reads as confidence when the ground is solid. When the ground is shaking, composure looks like delay. Delay invites more jokes. More jokes invite more checks. The spiral doesn't stop until the narrative resets. Resetting a narrative takes humility. Humility is hard when pride has been loud. Loud pride raises expectations. Expectations raise the fall. By this point, the humiliation wasn't about disrespect. It was about recalibration. The culture recalibrates its heroes when stories drift too far from shared memory. That recalibration doesn't erase contributions, it reorders them. Reordering hurts because it changes where someone stands in the story, and stories are everything in hip-hop. Once your place shifts, you feel it everywhere.
Stop tricking out their freedom, bro. This is gonna be the last time I address this. Whatever you got to say after this, good luck, I wish you luck. I got other shit to do. This is not on my motherfucking plate. Believe what you wanna believe, because I got other things to do. You feel me, Murder? I ain't want to snap one of them nose, but yeah, I'm good.
Here goes some popcorn stats.
What was your reaction when Cameron brought up all these old stories and everything about you?
I laugh, man. I got this thing, man. People laugh at the lies, but the truth always hurt. You know, lies are more entertaining. You heard? You get to laugh, you get the joke, but the truth is a serious thing, no matter how you look at it. The truth is what the truth is.
As the discussion matured, the situation turned into a lesson on how credibility actually works in the culture, because credibility isn't declared, it's granted. It's granted by peers, by time, and by consistency. Mace and Cam spoke like custodians of that standard. They didn't demand applause, they delivered context. Context strips away excess. Excess is where myths live. When excess gets trimmed, what remains is real. Real can be uncomfortable, but it lasts. The humiliation stuck because it wasn't mean-spirited. It was methodical. Method beats madness every time. Madness trends and fades. Method stays relevant. People kept replaying the moments, not for the laughs, but for the explanations hidden inside them. Hidden explanations are powerful because they reward attention. Attention creates informed audiences. Informed audiences raise standards. Raised standards change behavior across the board.
Mace taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. He was like, boy, once you figure out how to rap the same way you act in these streets, it's gonna work for you. Just keep going. And that's all so I always gotta give credit to where credit is due and shit like that. It would be no Jim Jones.
Another layer that hurt was the contrast between eras. The older generation values precision because they lived consequences. Precision kept people safe, respected, and connected. When newer storytelling leans flashy, elders step in. Not to gatekeep, but to guard accuracy. That guarding looked like roasting, but it functioned like correction. Correction keeps the record clean. Clean records protect everyone involved, including the person being corrected, if they accept it. The culture debated fairness, but the debate stayed grounded. Nobody denied the accomplishments. They questioned the framing. Framing matters because it teaches the next generation what to value. If exaggeration gets rewarded, truth gets buried. Mace and Cam weren't having that. Their pushback signaled to younger listeners that authenticity outranks amplification. That message landed hard and wide. As more people weighed in, the humiliation became communal, not in cruelty, but in consensus. Consensus forms when multiple viewpoints converge independently. Independent convergence is powerful. It tells you the issue isn't personal, it's structural. Structural issues require structural responses. The response here was simple. Say it right. Saying it right fixes most problems. Saying it wrong invites endless checks. By now, the moment had transcended personalities. It became a reference point for how the culture self-corrects. Self-correction is healthy. It prevents rot. It keeps the ecosystem honest. Honest ecosystems survive longer, and survival is the ultimate flex in hip-hop. In the end, the humiliation wasn't a victory lap for anyone. It was a reset for the record, and resets are necessary when stories drift. Mace and Cam forced a pause and brought the conversation back to ground truth. Ground truth doesn't erase growth, it frames it properly. Proper framing protects legacies instead of inflating them until they pop. The pop is what everyone saw. The reset is what will last. The aftermath matters more than the moment. Future interviews will be watched closer, claims will be weighed heavier, audiences will listen with sharper ears. That's not punishment, that's progress. Progress looks like accountability without cancellation. Accountability without cancellation strengthens the culture. It teaches without destroying. That balance is rare and valuable. What the culture took away is simple and strong. Stories belong to memory as much as to microphones. Memory doesn't chase clout, it waits. And when memory speaks, it speaks calmly. Calm truth is undefeated. Calm truth humiliates excess without raising its voice. That's what happened here.